Buy-to-let, thatched, commercial. We're your high street insurance brokers for all types of insurance. Avoid faceless internet firms.
High House Insurance, do it face to face.
See Neil and the friendly team at High Street Selsey.
High House Insurance, do it face to face.
Or call Selsey 606 552.
Hello and welcome to Selsey Internet Radio. I'm Mary Kennedy. In this week's programme, Pat Reid will tell us what's on in Selsey over the next couple of weeks. Thea has an Easter Bunny poem. Nick, our roving reporter, has been talking to Martin at Buildbase and has a timely reminder for Good Friday. The Selsey shopper has paid an Easter visit to the High Street, and Lynn reveals the secret of perfect scrambled eggs. Giles has some gardening tips, and we finish with an Easter story from Hugh and Thea. So now over to Pat.
Hello, I'm Pat Reid for Selsey Radio, and this is what's on in Selsey until Saturday the 26th of April. On Thursday the 17th of April, Link, which is Ladies in Contact, will be having their monthly meeting at St Peter's Church Hall at 7:15 p.m. All ladies of any age are welcome, and this month's talk is being given by Tina Scott on the London Olympics 2012 sailing at Weymouth. The Venture Bus is now available for these meetings, and for information on that, contact Mary Grantham on 604718. Friday the 18th of April is Good Friday, and there will be a Selsey Passion Play performed at 6 p.m. in St Peter's Churchyard. Around 40 performers will be taking part, and this is Selsey's first Passion Play since 2008, so it's hoped that lots of people will support this free event. Saturday the 19th of April, Seal Island WI are holding their Easter Extravaganza in the Town Hall from 10 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. There will be craft stalls, a raffle, a cake stall and refreshments. On Sunday the 20th of April, as usual, the Selsey Model Boat Club will be at the pond on East Beach with their radio-controlled models from 10 a.m. until 12 noon for anyone who just wants to go and have a look or join in. They will also be there on Wednesday afternoons at the new summer time of 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is all weather permitting. Easter Monday, 21st of April, Spirit FN will be visiting Amanda's Hobby Hideout in the High Street. There'll be children's crafts, face painting, tombola, games and a craft stall. Also on Easter Monday, the Carers Support Group are holding a car boot sale at the Academy in School Lane. That's from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you want to sell, the cars are £7 and vans £12. Wednesday the 23rd of April, St George's Day, there will be a Great England quiz at the Selsey Centre with questions solely on England and English people. The cost is £36 for a team of 6, which will include a huge ploughman's and a bottle of wine for each table. Entries must be in by April the 16th, and forms are available at the Selsey Centre, Town Hall or Selsey off licence. On Friday the 25th of April, the next monthly meeting of Mind has their drop-in at the Selsey Centre at 9 a.m. until noon. You'll be welcomed with a cup of tea and a cake for £1. For anyone needing a friend or a chat, you'll find a friendly ear. There is no longer a stigma to depression, and a listening ear that can give you help and support is a lifeline for many. Looking a little further to Saturday the 26th of April, the Women's Section Royal British Legion are holding a spring fair at the Town Hall at 10 a.m. There's a book sale at St Wilfrid's Church Hall from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. and a book and jewellery sale at St Peter's Church Hall from 10 a.m. until noon. This is Pat Reid saying goodbye for now until next week's What's On.
Thank you, Pat. And Thea's poem is next.
I am a bunny rabbit a-sitting in me hutch. I like to sit up this end I don't care for that end much. I'm glad tomorrow's Thursday, 'cause, with a bit of luck, as far as I remember, that's the day they pass the buck.
Thank you. Next is Nick's interview.
Hello, this is Nick Jones, your roving reporter from the Selsey Internet Radio. Today I'm with Martin Starrick in Manhood Buildbase, and I'm going to talk to Martin about how the business started. Martin, hello.
Hello.
And how did you start this business?
Well, it was always a builder's. My father purchased a company which was FS Head at the time, back in 1969. Father comes from Scotland, and originally they were looking for a company on the south coast, and they came down to look at a company in Thorney Island. It's an accountant friend that came with him that pointed out this business was available in Selsey, so they'd come and have a look, see what it was about. So they did. They had a look, went through the books. The company was pretty much on its knees, so they decided there's something they could do. There could be a good trade in the area. They may be able to make it work. So they agreed.
So he was just then buying a builder's? A building company?
Yeah, he was a builder. He's always been a builder. So that was his idea. So they both, mother and father, came down. I had my older sister that came with them. She was only young at the time. Bought the company and then tried to make some go of it and turn it around.
And it certainly seems to have done. When did it become a builder's merchants? When did he start selling to?
Well, they owned it for about a year first, and they were selling materials to some of the local builders, but then they ran a book on it, on selling materials, and they decided there was enough there that they'd turn it into a company. So they ran the two side by side, and it took off very well. Did that for many years, and it was only in the late 90s, early 2005 that they decided that they could probably wind down the building side of it, and continue just with the merchants.
Because it's not builders anymore now, is it?
No.
And when did you come interested?
Well, I grew up here. I had my playpen in the workshop for many years.
Yeah.
And I've been off and done various things, been to college, joined the army, got a trade, and I came out of the army in '94, helped out one summer driving, and that was 20 odd years ago. I've been here ever since. It's not my intention, but I've enjoyed it, like the people, and I've stayed here.
And when was it taken over by Buildbase then?
2008, we were well into the recession then. Things were very hard. My parents were deciding they were looking to retire, so we went out to look at some of the bigger national merchants to see if there was any interest. We had a good look. We liked the look of Buildbase over some of the others, and we thought they were more appropriate for the area and for the locals, and we approached them. We had a good conversation and decided yes, we'd sell. They were interested. And the main thing is that I'd stay on with the company, and the local knowledge.
Oh, I see. You were part of the package then, really.
That's it. They wanted me to stay on and manage it, and I haven't looked back since.
And local knowledge helps, doesn't it?
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So, where we're sitting now, it's quite historical, isn't it? I mean, I understand there's some beams out in one of the rooms out there. Old beams?
This is one of the original barns of the village. When Selsey was more farmland, there were several larger barns. This is one of them. I think the date on one of the beams is 1805. Now they look original. They've been cut purposely for the barn. They're not sort of shipped timbers, relocated. So the main part we're actually in now, although it doesn't look like it inside, but outside is definitely one of the original barns. And then all the other buildings you can see outside of what my parents have put up gradually over the years as the business was developed.
Yeah. But it's flint, isn't it, the outside?
Yes, but it used to be thatched as well.
It used to be thatched as well?
Yes.
Was there animals here or that sort of thing?
Well, just outside the barn, which is our sales area, underneath the floor, it is cobbled, and that used to be the old dairy where the maids used to milk the cows.
Oh, really?
And we've still got some of the ring emplacements on the wall in between the stalls.
So if you want to see parts of history of Selsey, come and buy something from Buildbase and you'll really walk back in the years.
Yes.
Anyway, how are things going here? Are you going well?
We're very good. Things had been tight, but last year, since we had the good weather last year about May time, it really took off. We've been very busy and we haven't really stopped. Even at Christmas time when the storms were here, the fencing sales have been unbelievable. The only trouble is now...
I lost 6.
Yeah, it's chaos. But even now, it's now difficult to get them because there's a national shortage in fencing, so we're being quoted 2 months now.
So you are serving community of Selsey, aren't you?
We like to keep it local. We will go up to Chichester And we have one of our other bigger branches in Portsmouth, and we do collect a lot of stock from there, so anything on the way to Portsmouth we can do. But the more local we can keep it, the better we can keep our service.
And you deliver within 48 hours to virtually?
If we can, we're now down to one lorry now. We used to have two, but with the one lorry we try and do the same day, next day, if we can.
So the outlook's rosy?
Yes, I think so. Looking positive.
Well, Martin, thank you very much for talking to me, and may I wish Buildbase all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, before I finish today, yes, I am the roving reporter. And would you like to be part of the roving reports? We have ever-increasing numbers listening to our weekly iPod, and I think this might be the ideal opportunity for you. If you've got a business, why not come and tell me about it? No, don't come and tell me, I'll come to you. Because I've come to Martin, I will come to everywhere. Maybe you'd like to tell me how your business started, where it's going. Maybe forget businesses, but you've got some interesting history of Selsey. Or maybe you just like to moan about something. I'll come to you and you tell me what you want to moan about, and you can moan and we'll get it on the radio. Now, if you're at all interested, phone 07900 198 545, or in the evenings you can try 01243 603344. 603344. Finally, I'd like to promote our Passion Play. Yes, Selsey is doing their own version of the Passion Play again. We did it 3 years ago, and again it will be in St Peter's Churchyard. It's on Good Friday. It starts at 6 o'clock. It's outside, so come prepared for the weather. Let's hope it's going to be dry and warm. It lasts for about an hour. You can bring your own chairs or you can stand, and it's free entry, so I hope you'll all come. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll be speaking to you again as the Selsey's Internet Radio roving reporter. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks, Nick. And we're out and about now with the Selsey shopper.
Hi, I'm Pat Reed, your monthly Selsey shopper. Each month I'll bring you a few informative and hopefully helpful hints of what's going on in Selsey shops. This month I have another 5 establishments which caught my eye on my walk around, although with Easter almost upon us, the high street generally looks very festive and bright. Firstly, the Selsey fruiterers at the north end of High Street, besides selling fruit and vegetables, have a large display of plants and shrubs, as now is the time of year to start planting in earnest. What some people may not know is that they have a side passageway leading into their backyard where there is an even larger selection of plants and shrubs to choose from. On the same side, opposite Barclays Bank, is the Selsey florist. Besides their flowers, I was surprised to find a shop full of beautiful and unusual items, with the garden in mind, but so much more, and well worth a browse. Anyone interested in arts and crafts is lucky to have Amanda's Hobby Hideout on our doorstep in the centre of the High Street. The shop is an Aladdin's cave stocked with everything an artist or craft maker would need. On Easter Monday, Spirit FM will be there with a chance to win up to £1,800. There will be lots going on to keep children happy, with competitions and prizes given out on the day at 3 p.m. A few yards further on, Campbell's Butchers has an offer presently on with 50% off the price of bacon and sausages. I'm told it will be on until Easter at least. Their large chicken breasts at 10 for a tenner are also a very good buy. Just to finish off, Country Gardens, which is the fruit and vegetable stall and shop opposite Selsey Parade, is definitely worth a visit. They also have a wonderful display of garden plants and shrubs as well as their fruit and veg. Their shop has some unusual and very attractive garden ornaments and much more. There are many shops worth a mention, but that's all we have time for this month. This is Pat Reed for Selsey Radio, signing off until next time.
Thank you, and over to Lynn.
Well, we're back talking about cooking to Lynn. If I remember rightly, Lynn, we're going to talk about scrambled eggs.
Yeah, not everybody knows how to make scrambled eggs, do they?
Well, I actually do,
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
sure.
was taught by a chef up in the Lake District a long time ago. Go on, let's see how you make them.
Oh, okay. Here we go. He's put me on the spot again.
Yeah.
This is just a very simple way of making scrambled eggs, and there isn't any technicalities involved at all, right? Eggs are very delicate, remember, and they will continue to cook after you've taken them from the pan. So one thing with scrambled eggs is to be quite careful not to overcook them.
Because you don't want them...
You don't want them all hard.
Yeah.
You want it. You don't want them hard so that they separate. You want it quite a gooey little mixture going on.
Yeah,
all right.
okay.
I did just the other week actually try to do some in the microwave, and it failed miserably because they did overcook, and you really do need to do the saucepan top, oven top thing. So crack all your eggs into a measuring jug. I haven't written my recipe down, so we're going to say 6 eggs for this one, all right?
So you're going to do that for 3 people then?
Crack the eggs into a measuring jug, add a tiny pinch of salt and pepper, and then use a fork to beat them together well.
Right.
All right? Put a medium saucepan over a low heat and add a little bit of butter in the bottom.
Right.
Leave it to melt slowly, then when it starts to bubble, carefully pour in the eggs.
Right.
You stir slowly with a wooden spoon or a spatula if you've got one, so you can get right to the edges of the pan. Keep gently stirring until the eggs still look silky, slightly runny and slightly underdone.
Right.
All right? And then remove them from the heat, because the heat of the pan will continue to cook your eggs.
Okay.
All right? You serve that with some lightly buttered toast and you've got a wonderful scrambled egg breakfast. You can ring the changes with this. You could add a bit of chilli or something like that, or a few soft herbs. Anything really.
Well,
you could put anything into your scrambled egg. Ham even. Plain brown sauce.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah, great, isn't it?
Yeah, you could.
All right, thanks a lot.
We like our grub.
Well, hang on, what we do next week?
Well, we'll have a look at Scotch eggs.
Scotch eggs?
Yeah, Scotch
okay,
eggs.
all right, fine, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. That sounds delicious. On to Giles.
Good evening, Giles. What have you
evening.
got for us this week?
Good evening, Hugh. Plenty to do yet again. This is one of the busiest months of the year. Well, everything's going into rapid pace now, which is nice. It's nice after all the comparatively quiet times we've had during the winter. In fact, the plants are going really, really, really fast now. Everything's going fast because of the April showers and the warmer soil conditions, providing absolutely A1 growing conditions. So everything's really going like the clappers. Hedgehogs are emerging now and eating, and they're good because they eat a lot of the pests we have, like slugs, snails, whatever. So it's good if you have hedgehogs. That's a good thing.
Yeah, we got 2 or 3.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
They'll be coming out any time now. And then the other thing is take a garden. It's nice this time of year, towards the end, and now, around about now, in fact, take a walk in the garden, and on a mild sunny day this time, and with all the scents and flowers and beauty to see, it will lift the spirits as we take in the marvellous sights and sounds of spring.
It is, because it's rather like new life, isn't it?
Everything's like a new life. Plants, nature, yeah.
Yes, and you can see the birds nesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely.
It's like the world waking up.
It is, and it's a feeling of contentment.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. This is an idea. People always, when we're planting up annuals for the garden, sometimes it's nice to think about enjoying the summer evening ones would have summer evening scent wafting through the open windows and doors, and that's rather nice to do because in the summer it is very effective with open windows and doors. Have some flowers nearby with evening scent, and some of them are really, really noticeable. Some of the best ones are night scented stock. That's very well, very, very, very highly scented. You scatter the seed near the house, and then the other thing is the night scented is not quite so showy as the other one. It's just a pale lilac and white, but they're far more. They compensate by drenching the air with deliciously sweet scent. The other ones you can plant or sow or nicotiana tobacco plant or evening primrose. They're all very good as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to bear in mind now, because when you were sowing and planting for the summer months, magnolias are looking very good at the minute, and if it makes you decide you want to get one for yourself, choose the position you're going to put it in very carefully, because they do not like being moved. And then when you do get one, prepare the soil well and feed with a good compost, soil conditioner and tree planting compost and water well in. And then after spring pruning shrubs, such as buddleias and roses, apply a granular fertiliser and rake in and then give a light watering.
Okay.
As regarding a few little tips this month, it's a good idea to, when you scatter some hardy annual seed, to fill in what I call gaps in borders or gaps in the garden anywhere where there's there are just, one always ends up with gaps. And then annual poppies, nigella, which is love in the mist, and nasturtiums will always put them in these gaps. It'll brighten up what sometimes can be quite dull areas.
Mm-hmm.
So that's worth thinking
so you
about.
just scatter the seed?
Yeah, and just lightly fork it in, obviously, yeah. Yeah, with a little rake, a mini rake or whatever, yeah. If you've got any, it's a good idea to put some shading up in the conservatory and greenhouse, but not permanent shading, sort of movable shading, to stop, if you've got plenty plants there, to stop, because on a sunny day, it can really scorch plants very quick.
Okay.
It warms up that quick.
Yeah.
So get some movable shading if you need to. And then in the evening, in the day, the same on a mild sunny day, do vent the greenhouse, but be very careful to close them, well before sunset.
Okay.
Well before sunset. Just a little saying I like: a good mind, a good heart, warm feelings. These are the most important things.
Yeah.
I just think that's applicable to gardening and to people in general.
I think that's lovely.
So on that little note, we'll finish for this week.
Okay, Charles. See you next week.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Giles. And finally, we have an Easter story from Hugh and Thea. Goodbye, and thank you for listening.
The witness. We watched him die. There were 6 of us grouped close together for comfort. We watched him die, then turned and walked away. It had seemed such an ordinary day. Winter was nearly over. It had lasted longer that year. People were looking forward to seeing the sun again, and the farmers, they were bewailing the frosts that were damaging the crops they'd barely sown. When winter had finally come, it had been a relief after the drought-ridden summer. Esther, Martha and I had slept through most of the days that summer, waiting for the cool of the evening, when we would perfume ourselves, put on our best clothes, make up our faces and saunter down to the street below. On a good night, you could make enough to give the protector his dues and have enough over to buy food and clothes. But if you were clever and brave enough, you kept some aside, some for the day when you could get away from it all, away from the groping hands, the foul-smelling drunkards, the gross fat-bellied businessmen with their soft hands and filthy perversions. And all the time you smiled and you looked as if you were enjoying it. When you finally managed to crawl back to your bed, more often than not you would get slapped around, slapped by your pimp, because you could have serviced more clients and made him more money. So down the stairs you would teeter and take on another 2 or 3. Usually by then it was the soldiers from the garrison up the road, who paid poorly. So there'd be an argument and screaming and shouting and then more slapping. Not many survived past 25, and if they did, the life that they'd led would be etched on their faces. Old before their time, their bodies riddled with disease. They were reduced to begging to feed themselves, and many died from cold and starvation. I had seen what happened to the older women, and I was determined it would never happen to me. I knew how to please men, and most importantly of all, how to please my protector. It was to be my last summer on the game. I had stashed away just enough, somewhere so safe no one would ever find it. So I was feeling confident and sure of myself as I replaced the floorboard that hid my precious hoard. What's that you're doing? Martha leapt out of bed and grabbed me by the hair. You bitch, you've been keeping some back. Esther, come here. Look what she's got hidden in the floor. With a shove, she knocked me to the ground. And the next thing I knew, Esther and Martha were throwing my money in the air, laughing and dancing around like naked monkeys. You're not getting away with this. We've been watching you. Don't think you can keep it to yourself. Esther pushed her face up close to mine. There's nothing you can do. We're sharing this between us and you can't stop us. I sat on the floor. I watched my dream being destroyed in front of my eyes. All the pain, all the suffering, all the disgusting things I'd had to do to get that money raced through my mind, and I was filled with such rage that with one bound I was up. I tore into Esther's face with my nails, and as Martha launched herself at me, I grabbed a handful of her hair and I yanked it so hard it came away in my hand. Then with a swing of my fist, I knocked her down, and grabbing as much of the money as I could, I fled. Down the street, round the corner, into the town. It was noon. The street was full of people. They were gathered silently in a crowd around a preacher. Then a woman caught sight of me, and she started calling out, Oh, look everyone, it's one of them. She's out on the street in full daylight. Whoa. The crowd turned. It seemed as one. I tried to turn to run away, but I was surrounded. Rough hands caught me. I was dragged to the edge of the crowd and pushed on the ground in front of the preacher. A sinner, aho, they called. Some were picking up stones, even the children. I lay still, my eyes closed. I sensed movement, and when I opened them, the first thing I saw was a pair of sandals, white with sand. Then a great sob shook my body. I lay on the ground transfixed, watching my tears make little rivulets that ran down his feet. It was very quiet. The crowd made no movement. Even the birds and animals were hushed. He leant down and, taking my hands, lifted me up. Turning to the crowd, he said, Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Turning, he led me by the hand to sit with him. I looked into his eyes, and I felt myself cleansed. They burned into mine, read my soul and forgave me. I followed where he went, sat by his feet and bathed them with my tears, dried them with my hair, and anointed them with alabaster ointment I bought with my precious hoard. But there were many who were afraid of him and the power that he seemed to have over the people. They persuaded the Roman rulers that he was a disruptor, so they arrested him, judged him, sentenced him to death and called it justice. We could only stand and watched. They crucified him, and winter returned. We watched him die, then turned and walked away. After he was removed from the cross, permission was given for him to be embalmed and taken to a tomb. All that night we stayed, watching and weeping for that which we had lost. The next day, frozen with cold, we returned to the town, our hearts heavy and laden down with grief. But I could not leave it so. I returned to keep vigil outside the tomb. As I climbed to the Garden of Gethsemane, where he lay, the ground was hard and barren, the trees still held in the grip of winter. Not one flower had yet bloomed. I arrived at his resting place, and I saw to my horror that the large boulder blocking the entrance had been rolled away. It left a great gaping black hole. I ran into the dark of the tomb. It was empty. Sobbing and shaking, I turned and ran out to call the women, to tell them that he had been stolen away. As I reached the mouth of the tomb, warm air embraced me. It was thick with the perfume of blossom. I stepped out onto a carpet of the beautiful white-flowered, strangely named dove's-dung. Looking out across the garden, I could see all the trees were in bloom, and standing, silhouetted against the light, was a man. Thinking he must be the gardener, I ran to him, calling as I went. "They've taken him away! If it was you, tell me where you have placed him." He turned and looked at me. "Mary." Just that one word. I knew him then. I was so full of joy, I went as if to embrace him. But he held out his hand, still bloody from the nails, and stopped me. "Do not hold me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go to my brethren and tell them what you have seen, that I am risen, and I am going to our Father in heaven." My heart was at peace. Now indeed justice had been done. All this was many years ago. Now I am old, but every year as spring returns, I walk to the garden to sit and remember, surrounded by the heady perfume of the blossom on the trees, heralding a new beginning.